All right. Welcome back to the Built to Grow podcast. I'm your host, Tim Lyons, joined in studio by Randy Inkster. What's up, buddy?
Hey, guy. Let's change some lives.
Let's change lives.
Let's change some lives.
Speaking of changing lives, are you changing lives in your gym with how you train? This topic's a good one. In fact, if you go back to Built to Grow, the book, there was a chapter on this particular topic. What we're talking about here, folks, is falling in love with your product, your baby, what you've created, even though it may not be the right business model, it may not be the right modality of training, even though it's not right for you or maybe even for your business, you fell in love with it and you can't change it because it's your baby, right?
Yep.
And the funny story, going back, again, I don't know if you know the whole story on the gym and how it all started, but long and short of it is I opened a model up in 2009 that was a anytime fitness-esque model, key fob access, come train, come train on your own time.
You're right there.
Come train on your own time. Personal training if you wanted it. We had independent trainers and it was somewhat of a mess. The culture was all busted. People were doing different things. We had CrossFit on one side and personal training on the other. And it was just, geriatric in one corner.
Yeah, silver sneakers and people posing in mirrors. Yeah,
right next to each other. And I mean, if we were being honest, it was a big family and everybody got along. But from a business side, it really was garbage. Like it was not going to make the payments that I needed to make. So I had to make a change. And this was early in the game, first year.
Yeah.
And brand new equipment, brand new cardio, everything was brand new. I just, put it all my life on the line and ended up meeting with a mentor, still a friend of ours, Rick Mayo, who's like, hey man, get rid of all this stuff.
Yeah, quite literally.
And I mean, the story goes, we went to dinner. We flew out to the Alpharetta or whatever, Georgia area. At the time, he had a North Point Fitness. I got pictures from this. It was great. We looked like teenagers.
Babies, yeah.
Even he looked like a teenager. And anyways, he's like, man, really space is the best piece of equipment for you, in the model you're moving towards. Let's get rid of this, and this. I was like, man, that's all brand new stuff. He's like, yeah, I know. It sucks, but I'd keep this piece and that piece or whatever. It was very few. It was cables and whatever. And if I had fallen in love with the product that I created, and I've already put my life savings down on this plan, and I said, no, I'm going to do it my way, because it's my baby, because I fell in love with it, then I probably wouldn't be here today.
That's like like the captain goes down with the ship. Like that's making that decision from the day you signed all those contracts and leased all the equipment. Like if that was a mentality, you would have went down with that ship.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. And if you're still doing what's on your original business plan, it's probably because you fell in love with your product. And now this topic is pretty, I guess, recent for us because we just had a coaching call, a business accelerator coaching call, and Zach was like, you know what, gym owners, you probably don't even train yourself the way you train your clients in your gym.
Yeah.
And somebody said, what do you mean by that? And he's like, well, I'm sure you guys do, strength training, weights, sets, reps, and you're doing HIIT training in your gyms. Mm-hmm. Everybody kind of nodded your head. Yeah, I don't do HIIT training. So what's best for you is not best for your clients. It's interesting. It's like, well, maybe they have different goals. I think it all comes down to this. People need to build more muscle, lose body fat. And in order to build muscle, you need to lift up heavy shit.
Yeah, put it over your head.
Put it over your head and put it back down. The strength training component of gyms, of workouts, of results, of muscle gain will never change. You have to create muscular damage to regrow and create muscle tissue. And believe it or not, if somebody says, I want to tone, they need to build muscle.
Yeah.
If I want to, my metabolism's slow, I feel like I just gain weight, you need to build muscle. I want to get smaller, my dress sizes. Well, guess what? You need muscle to do that. Because you replace the fat with muscle, the fat takes up more volume, right? And it's just like you've seen those little things. Like, here's what 5 pounds of muscle looks like, and here's what 5 pounds of fat looks like. And it's like, well, they both weigh 5 pounds. Why does one take up so much smaller? Because it's more dense, more volume.
Dense, yeah.
And so like all the results that your clients want require them to be more muscular.
Yeah.
And in order to do that, you need to do strength training. So it's interesting that large group training gyms that are all metabolic based, body weight, very little strength training, a lot of cardio, don't change their model because they've invested too much into that model. Yeah. We're working with a gym that's getting out of her franchise, but it's an all treadmill based gym, right? It's like you've seen the orange ones, right?
Yep.
They're very similar to that. And she's going to semi-private training because, one is the client, people don't want to run on treadmills. Like that's the worst thing.
You're making a whole business model, the thing everybody hates to do,
Yeah. But at the end of the day, she's, we got to put muscle on people.
Yeah.
And there's a couple of things going on in this world right now, the Ozempic craze, and even the large group training phase. If you look at Orange Theory, when Orange Theory first, I think the one here in Scottsdale might have been one of the first 5 or 10 Orange Theories. It was all the rage.
Yep.
We lost clients in the beginning, and I remember this gal Andrea, who came, she was a longtime client. She's like, "Hey, I'm gonna go check out this Orange Theory." I was like, "Really? Okay, so let's get your body comp before you leave," and we got it. And then she went off for a year, disappeared, and she came back with less muscle than she left with. And she goes, I need strength training.
Yeah.
It all comes back to strength training. And if you're not building this into your programming, true strength training, I'm not talking about kettlebell swings.
Sure.
I'm talking
not
about
for AMRAPs or, exactly.
That's if you want to call that metabolic resistance training, that's essentially what that is. It's a calorie burn.
Sure. Yeah,
you're using your muscle. You're creating muscular damage. But if you want to build muscle, look at what bodybuilders do.
Progressive overload.
Tempo.
I'm
not saying you have to isolate every muscle. I'm saying strength training in general.
Yep.
So if that's the point. If you don't realize that now, after all of the science and all of what you're seeing, even if your business is just treading water, and you're like, well, I'm going to go double down on this. Is it really the right thing to do? Especially when you yourself don't even train that way. Isn't that interesting?
It is. One of the things I would add to it too is competition, right? The barrier for entry to open up a strength training facility versus a Medcon focused high intensity gym. You can absolutely step into a Medcon style gym, high intensity facility for a lot less than it costs or that it takes to set up a strength training facility. Why do I bring that up? Well, because if you look at the last few years from the Orange Theories, the F45s, all of the other ones, the competition for HIIT training has never been greater. Mm-hmm. And if I'm going to double down, if I'm thinking about that from any other business sense, why am I going to put myself in that seat and double down and put more eggs in that basket when that's where all of the thought, like everybody else has already run? The idea of that red ocean, right? It is a red ocean. And so if you're going to create an opportunity for yourself, why are you playing with the greatest amount of competition? Open up something or create, or maybe even bring in another level of training that doesn't put you right into competition with everybody else. Along with that is your ability to, marketing against all of it, selling all against it. The result that you provide is almost identical to every other one of those facilities. We talk about this consistently, and the problem with retention in large group is the perceived value of what the client is receiving. It's hot, sweaty bodies in the room. It's a caloric burn. You can get the same thing running in the park. You can get the same thing playing with your kids on the weekend. You can get the same thing with some hobbies. Pickleball's taking off like crazy. How many gym memberships have been lost to pickleball memberships?
A lot, man.
Right?
A lot.
But again, that's not providing the result that the client probably needs from a, metabolic condition, like overall conditioning, their state. They're not building that muscle. They're just burning fat and muscle on top of it, right? So there's problems that go along with it. But then the retention, 3 months is the average retention rate of some of those. The big orange one that we've heard of. Mm-hmm. If 3 months is the average that they're able to keep people, you think you as a one-off gym doing something that in the marketplace is almost identical to what they provide? You better have a community that wows people if you expect them to stick around and do something, because the result isn't going to be there after a few months. You're not going to get somebody into how many, we've talked about this over and over. Those clients can probably do multiple workouts in a day and not feel
We had a lot of clients like that.
Right?
Yeah, they would do 2 workouts in a day. And let's be honest, if they were really pushing, they probably couldn't, right? But their muscular endurance and their cardiovascular endurance is so high that it's like, wow, man, are we really getting any our body's adapted to the change, right?
There you
like,
go. Yep.
We gotta challenge the body, right? And so strength training, obviously, I think it all goes back to strength training. I don't know, how can you deliver strength training in your model with custom programming and high attention to detail?
Mm-hmm.
Well, for us, it's semi-private training, but how can you even do that in a large group atmosphere? Something's got to give. They're not going to get the attention, the form.
Safety, yeah, correction.
Something's got to give. Like it's unless you've got multiple coaches floating around. I'm thinking of when I played football, I'm thinking about the strength training room. We had a head coach in there, and they had like 5 strength assistants floating around, spotting, making sure form. Like that was, but you got like a ton of people in a room but we were doing the heavy strength training. So like, are you doing that in your gym? And people, I told you the story, the guy broke his wrist right next to me.
Yeah.
He still got hurt. The guy's out for the season.
And he's somebody who's probably spent three-quarters of his life in a gym.
Yeah.
You know, and still capable of that injury. I'm pretty sure Mrs. Johnson walking in, who's never been in a strength training facility, it shouldn't be doing that type of workouts without attention to detail, attention to cueing, attention to the safety that comes along with it.
We should get my old strength coach on the podcast. We should
do that.
Coach Dave Richards. he's in Arkansas right now. I sent you that screenshot. I'm gonna get him on.
We should. That'll be good.
We'll jam about strength training for athletics and strength training for adult population.
It'll be great.
In a large group atmosphere. Let's see what it looks like. Oh God. Long story short is this. You have to adapt to changes or else you're going to be left behind. Especially, gosh, Warren Buffett has a great quote. Something like, if everybody's doing this, do that. If they're all zigging, you zag. Like if everybody's going to large group training, which look at the last 5 gyms that open up in your area. What kind of model are they? I would think large group, because it's one, you said it's low barrier of entry. I don't know of any strength training franchise other than Alloy, who's a great friend of ours, and he's an ally to the show.
Yep.
That does strength training in a franchise manner. Do you?
Not offhand that I can think of.
Right? And that's why they've sold 200, 300 freaking franchise locations, because it's where the puck's, you're skating to where the puck's going.
Yep.
Right? I'm just thinking about that episode.
The Office.
No, with Rick.
Rick
here with the whiskey.
Bottle of whiskey and
just skate to the. He's like stats. Remember that? Oh Lord.
Oh, we got to get him back on next time too.
Yeah, we got to put listen, guys. Take a hard look inward. The tell for me is that if you don't even train the way you're teaching your clients, like there's a misalignment there.
Well, and it goes back to one of the things that we always talk about before you bring something into the gym. You have to believe it. And
that's number one.
Maybe you started there, and maybe that's where your belief is, but you've grown. You've evolved as an owner. You've evolved as a trainer, and you're no longer doing that for yourself. Your obligation to the marketplace is to bring your consumers with you, not leave them where they're at.
Right.
Like you're failing at the same failing the same people that you vouched to help,
and they trusted in you,
and now you're leaving them behind. I mean, that's a great way of looking at it. If you've moved on and you're doing a different style of training for yourself, that you're training your clients, the obligation is to go.
Well,
bring them with you.
Great example is one of our Inner Circle members, Casey Washak in Texas, changed his whole model from. He'd been doing it for 15, not even longer than us, large group training, Fit in 42. He's like, listen, guys, we in good conscience, we cannot continue to train you this way if we know that over here, semi-private strength training style training is the right way. So therefore, we're changing the model, and they came in droves. And he's getting great results. He's got great clientele, and he's doing things. His brother, Jerry, created a brand new brand called Strong Republic in the Palm Desert area. And he's currently converting Fit in 42's large group training into to Strong Republics. Now they're 2 different brands, which is perfect, right? He's created a brand new brand. When people kind of age out of the large group training. They're going and signing up for a Strong Republic, not even realizing it's the same owner, which is genius. Jerry, kudos, tip of the hat to Jerry. Absolute innovator in the industry, and he's created a brand new brand out there, and he's killing it. I mean, honestly, he's killing it.
And you have to think about that, like you listening. If you're one of those gym owners who these thoughts have crossed your mind, think of how hard it is to take 15 years of your flag in that ground being known. I mean, their business was Fit in 42, like everything was a 6-week metabolic high intensity program. If they can adapt and they can pivot and do something new, you with your one location who's a couple years old can probably do that a hell of a lot easier.
Yeah.
And point. And should probably, right? So look at, again, like Tim said and like Rick mentioned on that podcast, you got to skate to where the puck is going. Yeah. Business is, if you're not future focused, if you're not looking at where the future of the industry, of the results of your clients, of where things are going, you're already behind the 8 ball.
Yeah.
Already.
No doubt.
So it's time. It's time to give that another thought.
Give it another thought. All right. That's it for this episode, guys. Chew on that. That's it. Until next episode, keep changing lives. We'll see you on the next show. All right. Later.
All right, and thank you for listening to that episode of the Built to Grow podcast, where we help gym owners win. Now, do you want to connect with me and other gym owners online? All you need to do is join our private Facebook group, Business Talk with Fitness Professionals. Just head on over to Facebook and type in Business Talk with Fitness Professionals, and when you do, we're going to give you our 10 marketing strategies 7-figure gym owners use to win. I look forward to seeing you in the next episode. Until then, keep building something great.